Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome J Street U Vice President for the Southeast, Hannah Fajer.
Hello, J Street. My name is Hannah Fajer, and I am a senior at Johns Hopkins University. I currently serve as the Southeast Vice President to the J Street U Student Board. I am excited to tell you more about J Street U's new campaign, which aims to update the 2020 Democratic Party platform to oppose occupation, annexation, and settlement expansion. But first, I want to take you back to last spring. On the day of the Israeli election, I was a nervous wreck. I had begun to feel, for the first time, like annexation was truly imminent. In the weeks leading up to the election, Prime Minister Netanyahu had vocally advocated for Israeli annexation of much of the West Bank. This did not feel like a mere campaign promise that would go unfulfilled. Rather, it seemed the obvious next step in the pattern of home demolitions and settlement expansion that had been eating away at the Palestinian territory for years. And in response to this unprecedented, dangerous announcement, our White House was completely silent. Our country said nothing. I spent all day refreshing the polls on my laptop, and I watched the headlines roll in. Netanyahu claims victory. Gantz also claims victory. Likud placed cameras at Arab polling stations in a very, very democratic move. Elections still too close to call. Elections apparently still too close to call. By the end of the night, I could feel a knot in the pit of my stomach. Netanyahu was pulling ahead as votes were counted, and the threat of annexation he promised was all-consuming. I had dedicated so much of my time in college to J Street U. I believe in justice for Palestinians, democracy for Israelis, and peace for both peoples. But annexation would destroy any hope for those things. Eliminating the possibility of a Palestinian state would mean the death of Israeli democracy, the death of the peace process, and inevitable violence and instability in the region. I have never felt so powerless as I did in that moment. I also learned in J Street U that political problems have political solutions. So after the election, I did the only thing I knew would help. I organized. I spent my summer thinking with other J Street U leaders about how we could use our movement's power to fight annexation. I called up the Northeast Vice President, Hannah Powell. We were both astounded by how weak the American political response had been back in April. We knew that in order to save the possibility for peace, the United States needed to attach tangible political costs to annexation. So Hannah and I drafted a campaign designed to push our American political institutions to speak out against the occupation, settlement expansion, and annexation. As we talked to other students, our idea gained traction. And now we are all ready to work alongside J Street as together we push for the Democratic Party platform to adopt these important, progressive, and widely supported positions. This campaign is about changing American politics, and it is also about building a movement. We rally students on our campuses to join us in our political fights. We demand the attention of policymakers and decision makers who can enact change in American politics and in Israel-Palestine. The power of J Street U comes from organized people, not organized money. There are 1,200 students in this room today. We were born after Prime Minister Rabin was assassinated. We have never known the feeling of peace being right around the corner. We are a generation coming of age under the Trump administration. 2016 was the first year I was even eligible to vote. But we are here today, and we are ready to organize. If every student in this room went out and convinced just one other person to join our movement, we would grow from 1,200 to 2,400 in number. And that's the power of grassroots student organizing. It unlocks the potential for exponential growth. J Street U creates political people who enter the world after college ready to defend our values. I'm living proof of that. 3 years ago, I actually wanted to become a clinical psychologist after college. But J Street U politicized me, and now I want to work in Washington on advocacy or policymaking. And I also added a political science major with only 3 semesters left in college, as if I wasn't busy enough already. I'm just one example of thousands. Students grow through J Street U and then enter the world as political change makers. We become lawyers, journalists, politicians, and advocates. We are the future of American politics. Netanyahu may have failed to form a coalition last spring, and again just last week. But this does not mean annexation is no longer a threat. This does not mean that our work is done. J Street's work is more important than ever. This is an unprecedented time in history in which democracy, human rights, and justice are under attack, both in the United States and in Israel-Palestine. Over the past few years, Donald Trump has withdrawn the United States from the Iran nuclear deal. He has fueled white supremacy and bigotry. He has moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, recognized Israeli annexation of the Golan Heights, and actively encouraged settlement expansion. So let me make one thing clear to President Trump. We are not disloyal to anyone for standing against you and your destructive, reckless policies. As we look forward, we cannot merely hope to return to the American foreign policy that existed before Trump took office. We need new, progressive approaches to the U.S.-Israeli relationship that will reignite possibilities for peace, block the pathway to annexation, and end the 52-year-long military occupation of the Palestinian territories. This way, when we take back the White House in 2020, we can ensure that the United States is not bankrolling annexation. This future is ours for the taking, but we need to fight for it. I know that the 1,200 students in this room will return to our campuses ready to work. I want to ask each and every one of you to support us in our campaign. This is our future, and we're ready to fight for it. Thank you.